What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of The Girl Who Talks Sports, the podcast where we talk sports and other girly things. I'm Sam Cardona, and thank you guys so much for listening today. As usual, I will say this every single week, friends. We have a great show lined up today. We had Grace Curatolo of the She's Got Balls podcast. I was super excited to have Grace on to talk about the Divisional Round because she happens to be a Bills fan. So we talk about the Bills Mafia culture, like what it's like to be a Bills fan, because to be quite honest with you, as someone who is just like driving the bandwagon, I really wanted to talk to someone who's actually a fan of the Bills. So I was really excited to talk to her about it, and then also, do quick oversight of the 4 games that went down. So I'm really stoked about that. So that will be coming up in just a minute. But before we get into all that, don't forget, friends, to subscribe and follow on all podcasting platforms. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcasts from. You can find The Girl Who Talks Sports and give us a subscribe or a follow, as well as leave a review. That's really helpful for me as well. If you leave, especially an Apple Podcasts review, that's super, super good for me. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. The Girl Who Talks Sports. We put up full-length podcast videos there. Our full episodes are up on YouTube. It's a video of me doing it in case you're just listening and not watching on YouTube right now. But yeah, all of our stuff's up on YouTube, and I put out extra content videos. So last week I actually got together over Zoom, me and 4 other Giants fans. We all got together and we were able to kind of talk about how the Giants did this year, what the season was like, what the feeling is going to be for next year. It's completely unedited. It's completely unfiltered. I didn't touch it. I literally pressed record on Zoom. It was so much fun. So that was a video that went out last week. I have another one that I'm filming this week and putting out, but you have to turn on notifications because I don't have a schedule for extra content videos. So they could come out at any time. So make sure that you press that little bell to turn on notifications to make sure that you don't miss when a new video comes out. So that's super, super important. Also like the videos, comment on the videos, whatever you want, love all that stuff as well. And finally, don't forget to follow us on social media, TGWTS Podcast. That's, The Girl Who Talks Sports, TGWTS Podcast on both Twitter and on Instagram. So you can follow us there, get updates, all that good stuff, as I usually say. And I've been gaining a lot of followers lately. I appreciate all of you guys who have been following me and listening. And I feel like such an influencer when I say that, and I'm really not an influencer at all. I just do this because I love it. But I really appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate everybody who follows me and listens and watches and all that good stuff. But we won't drag on any longer. Before we get into the interview that I have with Grace, I do want to talk quickly about the hirings for head coaching positions that just happened. Because there was 3 major head coaching positions that were filled this weekend, or this past week. Actually 4. I think I forgot about the Falcons, but Arthur Smith, he is now the Falcons head coach. I don't really have much to say about him. He was on the Titans, but that's really it. The biggest one, I think, was the fact that Robert Saleh is now the New York Jets head coach, which is super exciting for them. He brought over the offensive coordinator from San Francisco as well, Mike LaFleur, who happens to be Green Bay Packers head coach Matt LaFleur's brother. So if he's anything like his brother, he's got a very, strong offensive-minded guy. It's a great person to have on the Jets staff, as well as Robert Saleh, just an amazing defensive coordinator from San Francisco. So I think that'll be really exciting for the Jets. I think I've spoken to my dad about this, who's been a Jets fan since he was 12, and he says, these guys come in and we're like, this is the guy. We draft a quarterback. This is the guy. We get a new head coach. This is the guy. And I know people have been saying that about Robert Saleh, and I genuinely hope that he's the guy for the Jets. I think that he could be incredible and amazing, and it's all up to what goes on next year. It's all up in the air right now. So he's the Jets head coach. Dan Campbell is the new Lions head coach. I know him from the Giants. He was a tight end for us in the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know really anything about what he's done in terms of coaching, but I hope that, I think Matt Patricia's a pretty much a rock bottom, that it's you can basically only go up from here. So I hope that Dan Campbell can do things for the Lions, and they might not even have Matt Stafford next year. So he might be working with a new quarterback, a new slate, a new everything. So, that might be good for the Lions. And then finally, Brandon Stanley, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, is now the head coach of the Chargers. So not a big move for him. He's staying in LA, but totally different team with the Chargers. This means that Jason Garrett, the Giants' offensive coordinator and old Cowboys head coach, did not get the job, which I'm upset about because we don't want Jason Garrett anymore, but he's going to stick around anyway. I kind of had the feeling that he was going to stick around, but, it is what it is. Again, I don't know a whole lot about Brandon Stanley, but welcome to the Chargers, man. Justin Herbert put a thing on his Instagram story, so he seemed kind of excited about it. So really, really awesome stuff going on in terms of hiring for head coaching positions. There was a lot of vacancies, so now they are filling all those holes up. So super exciting. Without further ado, I want to get into, I don't want to ramble too much about hirings. I want to talk about the divisional round with Grace. So I want to let you guys listen to that interview that I did with her, and I hope that you guys enjoy. All right, everybody. So we are joined today by Grace Curatolo of the She's Got Balls podcast. I am so excited to do this. We're going to go over the divisional games from this past weekend. Grace, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be on here.
Yeah, so before we get started, why don't you let everyone know what your podcast is and where they can find it, and kind of how you got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So my podcast is called, as you said, She's Got Balls, and it kind of is a. I like to think I'm funny, so it's a little bit of a pun, but also, related to sports and balls and all of that fun jazz. And it's really just the whole podcast is designed for like the basic sports fans. So no matter if you're older, younger guy, girl, whatever, for any kind of sport or type. It's just to bring all of the different sports together and no analytics, no stats, just the general weekly sports, what happened last week, what's going on this week. And then I like to have different athletes on just to help promote their sport if it's not a sport that's super big. And then just to also share people's stories. So it's kind of fun, about 25 episodes in. So
Nice.
on the newish side. So yeah, having fun time with it.
Yeah, and it's I've listened to a few episodes and they're nice and quick. They get to the point. It just kind of brings you up to
That's the
speed.
goal. No,
Yeah.
nothing too long.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I very much enjoy it. So make sure that you guys check out her podcast. But let's get into this divisional round of the NFL. And we're going to go in the order of the games, and we're kind of just going to go over, how we felt about it, what's to come, all that good stuff. So let's start off with this Packers Rams game. So the Packers ended up winning over the Rams. Going into this game, what were your thoughts? What did you think was going to happen, and then compared to what ended up happening in this game?
I ideally, as a Bills fan, was hoping that the Rams would win just for the underdogs, but I definitely had a feeling that Green Bay Packers were going to come out on top, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they did. Wasn't sure how well the Rams were going to be able to run with the Packers, but they definitely held their own and had a lead for a little bit and was very impressed, actually.
Yeah. No, and I think that the Rams last week against Seattle also kind of impressed everybody, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and he came and he showed up and he played a pretty decent game. Yeah, I have the same feeling. I wasn't The thing with the Rams is that they kind of surprise you all the time, and to me the Rams are very boring to watch. I never really am like, "Ooh, the Rams are playing." That's just it's not really how I feel about them. But yeah, I think that the Packers did a pretty decent job, and the big news here is that everybody's thinking Aaron Rodgers is going to be the MVP of the league. What do you think about the whole MVP situation this year?
I mean, he it would be absolutely no surprise if he won MVP. And I think that from the beginning of the season, that's a big standout for him being a contestant in my eyes, just because since the first game, he's done a really great job. And I think consistency is so important with an MVP. And it's not just one big game. He's had a lot of big games. And I totally, depending how the the rest of the playoffs play out, but with the way it's going, I feel like he's a shoo-in.
Yeah. And people were talking about Russell Wilson too, and I Russell Wilson did not have an MVP season in my eyes. It was up and down, like you said. Consistency is key in this, and Russell Wilson didn't do it for me.
I
But
hope he has a standout season soon. I
I
really do.
I know. There was also obviously the talks of Josh Allen might being an MVP, which
Now that is the right answer.
yeah, no, and we'll get to the Bills game in a little bit, but I've been riding that Josh Allen MVP train. I've been riding the Bills train. Like, I'm a Giants fan, but I was like, I'm so obsessed with the Bills this year. They have just like blown me
They're so
away.
fun to watch.
They really are.
They're fun. And that's the key when it comes to sports and new up and coming teams or whatever it is he's fun to watch.
Yeah. And we'll get to the Bills game in just a second, but to go back to the Packers and the Rams, Aaron Donald had gotten hurt last week in the Seahawks game, and you can tell like they weren't playing him consistently. He was going in and out of the game. I'm curious, like, do you think maybe if he ended up being completely healthy, would this have gone a different way? Like, would he have been able to kind of stop Aaron Rodgers? Or like I'm keep thinking about that and I just don't know what the answer would be.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think it could have made a big impact, but I think that Aaron Rodgers and his offense would have just picked up even more then. I don't know. I think it would definitely have slowed them down a little bit, but
Yeah.
they would have regrouped and won in just a different way. I
Yeah.
just think that the Rams just didn't have it in them as a whole.
Mhm. Yeah, the Packers are smart. They're really smart. And they're led by one of the best quarterbacks in the league, maybe of all time. So I totally agree with you. All right. So I was very excited to talk about this Bills game because of the fact that you are a Bills fan. So before we like get into all of the nitty-gritty of the game, I'm curious, what's it like being a part of Bills Mafia and like being immersed in the culture of this fandom?
Yeah, absolutely. It is so much fun. I didn't fully appreciate it probably until I hit my 20s and went into college and everything, just because you grow up and it's like, hoorah, you got some crazy people. It is what it is. But then, you get older and you start going to the games without your parents and you get the full experience. And then social media has just ran crazy with the Bills Mafia, and it's a lot of fun. I get the question asked very frequently if either when I say I'm from Buffalo, the first question is always, "Are you part of the Bills Mafia?"
Mhm.
And second question usually is, "Have you jumped through a table, or how many tables have you jumped through?" And unfortunately, I've never even
Oh.
attempted to jump through a table. I will say that, but definitely part of the Bills Mafia. And it's a great community. It's just all when people ask, being a part of the Bills Mafia, what's it like? It's everyone from Buffalo. There's really no one that's not. If you're cheering for the Bills fans, then you're a part of the Mafia. It's just fun. It's just a great community, and when the Bills win, it's everyone's happy in Buffalo. Even if it's snowing and cold, everyone's happy.
Yeah. No, I've just like, as being down in New York City, we don't really get a lot of Bills fans down here, but I just feel like it would be so much fun. I was just talking to my brother and I was like, when COVID is over, we should drive up to Buffalo and go to a Bills game and tailgate because it just looks like they're just one big happy family. Everybody's cheering for the same thing. Everybody wants the same thing. And then, you jump on a few tables on to to be quite
So
honest with
fun.
you, it looks like a lot of fun. I feel like you might need to be a couple drinks in to jump on a table, but
Yes.
I feel like it could be like, afterwards you'd probably be like, wow, I shouldn't have done that. But do you think you would jump on a table?
No. No, but I was talking to my brother today, and if the Bills win the Super Bowl this year, like everyone's getting a tattoo, I feel, in the city of Buffalo.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that will be, I would rather get a tattoo, I think, before jumping through a table. I don't know if I mean, you got to put a lot of body weight into getting through a table.
That's true.
You see a lot of people that try and fall on a table, and the
It
table
doesn't
wins.
work.
And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to compete against the table.
Right. Yeah. No, it's feel like in order, if you're like a lighter person or smaller person, you have to jump from higher to get more momentum.
Yeah.
And like that just seems like, I don't know about that. Maybe just like a jump from the thing to onto it, but no,
It's
I
not
think you're
easy.
right.
That definitely takes effort.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
drinks,
funny.
like you said. Definitely drinks.
Just, a couple drinks. I feel like if you do that sober, I feel like you might need to reevaluate for a second there.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
so, what would you get as a tattoo if you were gonna get one?
Little buffalo outline, maybe.
Ooh,
Like the kind of like the Buffalo Bills, like classic Buffalo logo. My
yeah,
friend, actually, shout out to my friend Jackie. She yesterday was heavily drinking after the big W and already has it. She already got the tattoo. She's no
amazing.
waiting for her. She's a proud Buffalonian, and you definitely see a lot of buffalo tattoos, especially
That's
when someone
awesome.
gets drunk. You got a nice buffalo tattoo on your butt. That's classic.
I love
Classic
that.
buffalo.
I love that. So yeah, like you said, big win in Buffalo yesterday, or 2 days ago. So I was really excited to see this game, but when it started out, it was not, I don't think, what anybody was expecting. There was a lot of wind, a lot of different elements going on there. How are you feeling as a fan watching this game? And then also kind of as like overall, did you think the Bills were going to be better in the first half or worse?
Yeah, I honestly was a little nervous for the game. I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. And this was a game that you cannot deny the wind actually did have a big factor in it. And it really did. And the first half, a lot of people, were saying how it was boring, which because there wasn't much scoring, it in a way it was. But I mean, it was also just really good football and really good
Mm-hmm.
defense. And there were some overthrows, but that was with the wind. And on our end, we were thankful that they missed two field goals, which was
Yeah.
both hit the posts or the uprights, and that definitely helped us. And it was a roller coaster. It was definitely a roller coaster, but I feel like we ended up dominating the whole game.
Yeah.
I think we looked good, and if we can connect on those passes and not have to worry about wind in the future, we're in good
Mm-hmm.
shape.
Yeah, and I think that your defense was like way on top of things. And I think Baltimore's defense as well was pretty good. This was not so much an offensive game that everybody thought it was going to
Right.
be. And then, you had that gorgeous 101-yard pick six, which I was jumping around and
It
screaming.
was amazing, and it was beautiful. And I think my family watched it over and over again. Or it was like we just kept ESPN on all day Sunday and just kept rewatching it. And it was amazing. And the one that scored the touchdown was actually the one, I think it was like 2 years ago, who, when I don't know if you saw it on social media at all, but he was in the draft, the NFL draft 2 years ago, and he got hit by
The combine.
at the combine
Yes.
with the football. So it's like, comparing the two plays, it's pretty funny to talk about.
Yeah, no, I saw that. That video that he like turns and gets smacked in the head by the
Yeah, like
football,
the
and then
guy accidentally threw it.
yeah, but he just went along. He finished up his drill there and he looked pretty good. So I was seriously like jumping around and I was like, this is so beautiful. I think that was like kind of the momentum change in that game.
Yeah.
Apart from also Lamar ended up getting a concussion and his backup came in. And then I think that that's also where your defense kind of stepped up there because there was a lot of times where the Ravens could have gotten a completed pass and possibly a touchdown or two. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it got a lot more interesting in the second half, in my opinion.
Yes. Got
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, it really did. And that's was like I to be honest, I really didn't think it was that boring even in the first half
No,
because it was so
I enjoyed it.
yeah. I saw some people were just like, "Oh, this is a boring game. It's a boring game." I don't know if I was just invested in it because of the Bills, but yeah, I totally loved it. And in the post game, it was Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs standing next to each
They're the
other again.
best.
The their friendship is
It's adorable.
amazing.
It's
I
so
like
funny.
love listening to them talk about each other. I love the way they look at each other. Like they're just so cute. And I even said on a few episodes ago on my podcast, I talked about just how much I love their friendship and
Yeah, exactly.
they're just all the time just hyping each other up. And I think Stefan was like, "This is my little big brother" because he's taller than him, and
So
I'm like,
tall.
it's just so sweet. And I feel like if your team isn't in it, why not root for the Bills?
That's, no one has any excuse to not to root for the Bills. Like, what did they
Yeah.
ever do to you? I like
No.
to, that's what I like about the Bills, is that you can't be mad that I'm a Bills fan.
Yeah.
There's no need.
No, I love it. And my dad grew up a Jets fan and he's rooting for the Bills right now. And you guys are in the same division. So, this is just overall the game got intense and I think that the Bills were able to pull it out. And after we go over the games, we'll talk about how they might, differ in Kansas City when they play the Chiefs next week. But so then the Sunday games roll around and then we have the Browns and the Chiefs. I'm curious, who did you think was going to win this game?
I knew the Chiefs were going to win, but I
Yeah.
was hoping the Browns would win. I went to school in Cleveland, so I know a lot of Browns fans. And the idea that then at the time, knowing that the Bills already won, the idea of them playing the Browns, like Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns in the championships would have just been the wildest thing to 2020, 2021 ever. And we would have gotten a home game. But realistically, I knew that the Chiefs were going to win, but I'm more so interested on what the status is going to be for Patrick Mahomes next week because
Yeah.
everyone thinks, yeah, he's going to play. But I mean, if that's a concussion, rules are
Yeah.
rules.
Mhm. Yeah, those protocols can get super strict. So, I'm curious too. It's going to be interesting to see because, Chad Henne came in and was, I think he was doing his job. He was doing what he had to do. But can he beat the Bills in a championship game to bring the Chiefs to the Super Bowl? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, and will the offense be comfortable not having Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he is the face, obviously, of the franchise, but also he leads the offense. So will backup be able to do that? I think
Mhm.
could be very interesting.
Yeah, and throughout this game too, I was even when Patrick was playing, I don't know about you, but I kind of felt like the Chiefs weren't playing the way that everyone thought they were going to play. Like they weren't dominating in this game, and
Yeah.
the Browns I think are a pretty even match with the Bills, and I think next week's game could get pretty interesting in terms of the fact that like the Chiefs aren't going to blow anybody out of the water. You know what I mean?
I definitely think if the Bills play the way they do, it could be a very wild contested game. But I think when going against the Chiefs, like what the Browns did this week, if you slack just a little bit, because the Browns are a good team this year, you can't deny that. But if you slack just a little bit on the Chiefs, then that's where they can pull through. And
Mhm.
as long as the Bills can just continue to do what they're doing, we could be in the Super Bowl, and that's crazy to say. So I try not to because that's nuts. It's just
Yeah.
nuts.
Well, you're only one game away, so next week is going to be
Any New
high
York
stress.
team, just the fact that it could potentially happen, just
Yeah.
ugh.
The thing that sucks though is that if if it happens and you guys end up going to the Super Bowl and some miracle happens and you guys end up winning, you can't have a parade.
The fact that we can't even have like a full stadium. I mean, it was
Yeah.
amazing and cool that we had the past two games, like the 6,700 fans, and they acted like a full stadium. But
Yeah.
packing that stadium and the tailgates and just the whole experience, it's like, I'm not going to complain that we're doing this well, but like, what are the odds? There's a global pandemic the one year that 26 years later, the first time in my life
Yeah.
that we're this far, and there's only so much that the fans can do, but we'll make it work. We'll definitely make it work, and
Yeah.
hopefully, I don't even want to think parade talk. That
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
makes me nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, the fans though, they were so loud that you could even tell that, like, Lamar's got his hands over his helmet and he's like he can't hear what his coach is trying to tell him, and I'm like, this is like insane that
Nuts.
this stadium isn't even completely filled. Imagine, making it, this is way in the future, making it into the playoffs again next year with a full stadium, hopefully. You
It'll be
guys
good.
are like so crazy and like you're so passionate. It's just like they really impressed me, just the fans
Yeah.
themselves. And they were donating money to Lamar's
I don't. It's
charity.
nuts. Well, I
Just
don't know where we get all this money from, but that's very nice. It
yeah,
that's just a lot of money. I
yeah,
think it's
yeah. It
now
was a
over
lot of
like
money.
it's almost at like 400,000.
Yeah,
Crazy.
no, it's impressive and really really thoughtful. But in terms of the Browns Chiefs game, I think one of the biggest storylines that came out of this game was the whole touchback rule thing. So the Cleveland guy comes down into the end zone. He's about to cross the line. Defender comes in, fumbles the ball in the end zone, and now all of a sudden it's the Chiefs' ball. I don't understand this rule, to be quite honest with you. And I think it's really dumb because that really could have helped out the Browns. Like
I
they could
think
have scored
that's
points.
everyone just completely agrees with that. I think that was a huge turning point in the game, and it's just known as the one of the worst rules in the league. And I, like you said, just don't even understand it.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious if it is a rule that they consider changing, but it is definitely an interesting one, and it totally turned the
Yeah.
Browns around.
The thing is, like, it was like nobody knew what was going on because they were like, yeah, it's Kansas City's ball. And I was like, why? Like, I don't understand. And it was so stupid. The Browns could have scored a touchdown on there, maybe tied the game up, maybe even won the game just because of this rule that they just decided to give the ball to Kansas City in the end zone. It's just I was very confused and it was really stupid. But yeah, I agree. I don't even understand why it's a thing or understand the rule at all. So
I can't
that's
even help you with that,
I know
unfortunately.
I would have to go to old reliable google.com to figure
Mm-hmm.
it out cuz I don't understand it at all. But the Chiefs ended up winning and got a big game with the Bills next week. But the last game for this weekend was the Buccaneers and the Saints. And this game was highly, highly, highly anticipated for a lot of people. It was Brady, it was Breeze, a lot of people were joking around that they were going to simulcast it on the History Channel because both of these guys are over 40 years old, and I think that even though the Saints and the Buccaneers played twice this past season, and the second time they played, the Saints completely blew them out of the water. Tom Brady is a different man in the playoffs. And he came in and they showed up. They went into halftime, tied up. So, what were your thoughts going into this game? And, how are you feeling in terms of these two great quarterbacks going head to head?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people you said, I was excited just to see two great quarterbacks go against each other. That was
Mhm.
just one thing I was just really looking forward to. It boggles my mind that they're both over the age of 40, and knowing this could be Drew Brees' last game was something really cool and exciting. And also the fact that the Bucks have sucked for so long and Tom Brady rolls in, and this game with them winning just for me goes to show you how impactful one player really could be. And it's a team
True.
sport, of course the quarterback has a lot on them, but I be so curious on how he changed the locker room and the atmosphere, and not even just Brady, the whole team is now just a few free agent older players that just have been in the league for a while. You have Rob Gronkowski, who came out of retirement, and Antonio Brown, who I don't even know what he's like in the locker room. Hopefully he's
Yeah.
gotten better. Um, but just the actual game was, I thought, really exciting. I really wasn't sure who was going to win it. And I, like you said, Tom Brady in the playoffs is just totally different. And it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Just Tom Brady in the playoffs makes me nervous. Doesn't matter what team I know now. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
I am I respect the man because he's one of the best football players almost of all, basically of all time, but I don't like him, and I never did. And when he was on the Patriots, I'm sure you're in that division too. You hated his guts. The Giants played him twice in the Super Bowl, and he almost beat us, but we ended up coming out with our wins. But this game was just so insane, and I think the second half, the Buccaneers were good and the Saints were not. Drew Brees unfortunately ended off his career with like 4 interceptions. Really upsetting, to be quite honest. I really like Drew Brees. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up, even though he was, on a totally different team. But, what are your thoughts on his retirement? Was it sad? Was it bittersweet? It's like kind of it's a big name gone from the league.
Yeah, I think I'm curious of what the Saints will do and how they'll potentially restructure or just, move people up or get a new quarterback, whatever it may be. But I mean, he, it was interesting that it was like everyone kind of, thought that he was going to be retiring and whatnot. And then there was more announcements that he told reporters like right before the game that this was going to be his last game,
Hmm.
and it's still not official. And based off of that game, I'm curious if that impacted his decision or not, because
Yeah.
you have to wonder, could he say no, I don't want to go out like that, I want to play one more year. But either way, I mean, what an incredible player, what an incredible athlete, and he's going to be doing good things. I don't think he's going to be someone that will just disappear from football. He'll definitely still be involved, and he's a great person. And it literally brought tears to my eyes seeing him and Brady talk
Yeah.
after the game with their kids, and it's history in the making for sure. That's
Yeah.
definitely history that has been made with him.
Hmm. Yeah, I was watching that video of him and Tom after the game, and Drew's kids are running around, and his wife is there, and they're doing this thing, and then his kid catches a ball in the end zone thrown by Tom Brady. It was just like the ending of a movie. It seemed like it was such a good video to watch. I think I've watched it like 4 or 5 times
Oh
by
yeah,
this
for sure.
point. It was just so pure. But in terms of this game, you know, to now look forward to next week. So we have the AFC Championship, the NFC Championship. Do you think that this Buccaneers team has what it takes to even take on the Green Bay Packers?
I hope not. I think they do.
I know, me too.
It was so nice not to have to worry about Brady this season, and now it's like,
I
God forbid the Bills are playing well and still to deal with him. But it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I really hope that they won't, but I mean, like we both said, Tom Brady in the playoffs I feel like is different, and with Rob Gronkowski there too, and the connection that they have. But I just the Bucks can totally win if the Packers lay up a little bit. So as long as the Green Bay Packers play the way that they do, and Aaron Rodgers is consistent, then I think they will be totally fine. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't even. Ugh,
Do
Packers
you,
need to play well.
do you want to do some official predictions on who you think is going to end up winning each of these games?
Or we got to go with the Packers for
Mm-hmm.
sure,
Yep.
and then the Bills. I mean, there's nothing even to talk about if
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes is back or not. great. Um, we're going Packers Bills to the Super Bowl
Yep.
2021.
Yes. Yeah. I
Wow.
100% agree with you. 100%. The
Do
thing
not
is
want
too,
to play
like
Brady.
with oh god, I would feel
That would be
so
wild.
bad.
That would be wild that Tom Brady would and Rob Gronkowski and everyone else would play the Buffalo Bills in a Super Bowl because they've been playing against each other for so long, and
Right.
it would never been possible to play. But that would just be nuts. But I
Yeah.
think the I think no matter who wins, it's going to be a really great Super Bowl. Like, I'm really excited for this game. I don't know if because the Bills are in, I'm paying attention more or what, but I think I'm either way. I think the next two games in the Super Bowl is going to be great. I'm excited.
I'm really excited too cuz I was even thinking about it like, all four of these teams are teams that I mean, apart from the Chiefs getting into the Super Bowl last year, like, we haven't seen these teams in the Super Bowl. We haven't seen these players play at this high level. Like, I'm super stoked, but I'm completely the same as you. I would love to see the Bills win and the Packers win. And to be quite honest with you, as much as that seems like a pick with your heart instead of a pick with your head, I think they're both very possible. I think the
That's
Bills,
what's wild to think. It's
yeah,
very possible.
like you could say like, oh well, because I'm a fan, I want the Bills to win and I'm going to pick them. Like, it's very possible that the Bills can beat the Chiefs next week, even if Patrick Mahomes comes back, because like we were talking about earlier, I didn't see the Chiefs performing the best. I think that they definitely had like their offense wasn't clicking as much and their defense isn't as strong as everyone thought they were going to be. So I'm stoked, but the my way too early Super Bowl prediction was Chiefs Packers. Like that was it. But
Wow.
I had like I think like July or August came around and I was like, you know what? The Bills are going to win their division this year. I'm just gonna go with that. And so I was like, I didn't know if they were gonna make it this far, but they've completely
Doing
proved
it. Doing it.
they've proved me wrong. So yeah, the thing is too with like Rodgers and Brady, I think that's another really monumental game
Exactly.
because we haven't seen these two go head to head, quite recently. I don't think. I don't know if the Patriots played the Packers at all in Super Bowl, but or in the regulars. I'm sure they have, but this game is going to be great. I'm super super excited. But yeah, this is a good season. Patriots aren't in it, which I'm stoked about. No Bill Belichick in January, which is refreshing. And then these teams that I think if the Browns had made it and it was Bills Browns, that would have been like the most 2020 2021 thing
It would have
of
been
all
nuts.
time. I
It,
and the thing is too, I still think the Bills would have won
yeah,
against the Browns
for
too.
sure. For sure.
Cuz I'd like if the Browns made the Super Bowl, I think the world would just explode at that point. It's way too crazy. So they definitely needed to be like, all right, you're still the Browns. Take it easy. Take it easy. But yeah, so I mean, it was an exciting weekend and
Absolutely.
a lot of stuff to go over and we're very excited for next week. But Grace, thank you so much for talking divisional round with me. That was super duper fun. I'm glad that you were able to come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah, so you can why don't you plug your podcast one more time and let everyone know where they can find it if they want to
Yeah,
listen.
you can find it on all podcast platforms, the iTunes, Spotify, Google, and the other small ones. It's called She's Got Balls. And then you can find us on Instagram at She's Got Balls Podcast, all one big long word. So you can
Awesome.
find us there.
Yay. Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for coming on, Grace, and we're gonna go back to our regular scheduled podcast programming. I hope that you guys enjoyed that interview with Grace Curatolo of the She's Got Balls podcast. Really enjoyed having her on. Even after we finished recording, we talked for a really long time about everything that's going on and chatted a bit. So I was really really happy to have Grace on, and hopefully in the future we have some reoccurring guests in the off season of the NFL. So let's go into our segments for today's show, shall we? And let's get into our first segment on the show, and my favorite segment on the show, Tea Time. Tea Time is my favorite segment on the show because we delve into the hot, steamy gossip of the sports world, and this week, long overdue, so long overdue, to talk about the Houston Texans. There is an astronomical amount of drama happening in Houston right now, and I don't know why I wasn't talking about it before. I knew there was the whole Deshaun Watson things and everything that's going on there, and obviously that's a major part of it. But there's so many other things happening as well, so I want to talk about all of it right now. So let's like backtrack a bit and start from the beginning. So the big thing here was the fact that Deshaun Watson, quarterback of the Houston Texans, came out with like 4 wins last season. Not good whatsoever. Just not a good thing. There was a video that came out of him and JJ Watt coming off of the field. JJ saying that he was so sorry that he wasted one of his years in the NFL. Really, really, deep stuff there. And Deshaun, obviously, he's been there for a little bit now. The Texans love him. The fans love him. He's one of the best young quarterbacks in this league, to be quite honest with you. I mean, when he went down with that ACL injury years ago, I think it was his first year in the NFL, I was like, oh my goodness, I am devastated. Because I really liked Deshaun Watson. So now what happened was there was all this controversy happening with the coaching and the GMs and who's getting fired and who's getting hired. The organization told Deshaun that he was going to be consulted in finding the new general manager for the Texans. Apparently, that was a straight up lie, and they just went out, hired a new GM, didn't consult Deshaun at all, and that made him extremely angry. So that was like the big thing that's happened there. Nick Caserio from the New England Patriots was hired as the GM, and that was one of the main things that happened here. I want to go back even further, though. Even further to the offseason last year in 2020. What was the big thing that happened with the Houston Texans in 2020, you might ask? Well, my friends, I will tell you, in case you forgot, Bill O'Brien sold off their best player. They gave away DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals for next to nothing, like worst trade of all time, and Deshaun was pissed off to lose DeAndre Hopkins, and we saw him at Arizona just balling out every single week, just doing insanely amazing things. So that was probably what sparked that fire, and then when Bill O'Brien was fired, I was, maybe they thought it was going to get better, but that whole front office and the whole coaching, the whole thing going on there, not great. So that is another anger level, if you will, for Deshaun Watson. And now, after the whole GM thing and everything that's going on, which we'll get into in just a second, Deshaun has come out with this tweet, petty tweet, that basically said, like, they told me that my anger level was at a 2. Now I'm at a 10. Like, I'm done. And there's no way he's playing for the Houston Texans next year. Absolutely zero chance. They've been calling him. They've been leaving him messages. He's been ghosting them. He's been ghosting the hell out of the Texans, which is so petty, but we love it. So this thing that I started reading about when I was looking up kind of the timeline of what was going on with Deshaun Watson, I didn't know about any of this, what I'm about to tell you. This is all brand new information to me. Jack Easterby, I believe is how you say his name. He is the executive vice president of football operations for the Houston Texans. He is part of the reason why Deshaun is so angry with this entire front office. And this guy is very weirdly kind of guilting people into keeping his job. So this guy, Easterby or Asterby, I think it's Easterby, was a youth pastor back in the day. He was a religious man, which we have no problems with. I am a Catholic. I have no problems with people who are religious. But this guy seems to be using it to his advantage. So apparently he came into the league years ago, many, many years ago, back when the whole Aaron Hernandez thing was going down in New England. And not just like in the organization, but obviously all of the crimes that he was committing as well. They brought in this guy, this youth pastor, to kind of be like someone that the players can go to talk about how their image, the way they portray themselves, the way they feel, a kind of spiritual thing, which is pretty good to as a thing to have for these players to go to. And then he ended up going to the Texans, and he started filtering into this front office of the NFL as a whole. And the Texans apparently have not been able to get rid of him, mostly because he will like grab people's hands and be like, "Oh, pray with me," to talk about like, what's going on and the decisions we're about to make. And a lot of times he did this when he knew his job was on the line, when it was very possible that he would lose his job. And when this new GM this year was hired, Nick Caserio, there was a lot of talks that this guy Easterby was going to be fired, and he did the same thing. Now still has his job and will not be fired. And this has sent Deshaun through the roof. He is pissed as just all holy hell, to throw a pun in there. He is just, the thing is, I think I read something else that said Easterby would go into team meetings and be like, Deshaun is the best, Deshaun is this, Deshaun is fantastic, we love Deshaun, we love Deshaun, we love Deshaun, and would say nothing about any of the other players. And Deshaun didn't like that. He was like, we're a team. While I am a quarterback and I'm leading this offense, I have other people on this team that I need you to, kind of bring to light, to show that they are not just some other person, like it's not just me on this team. And they butted heads. He didn't like him. And when he found out that Easterby was not going to be fired, Deshaun, as I think, has officially tapped out. And that's when I was saying, like, he's ghosting them. He's not talking to the Texans at all. He's looking for a new place. Where that's going to be, I actually have no idea at this point. There are so many different teams that are like, oh yeah, the Jets are going to get him. The Dolphins, the 49ers. Like, they were even talks about that, like Jimmy Garoppolo heading out. So this what a tea time this is. This is a long tea time, but I had to like just pull apart this Houston drama that's going on right now. It's insane. I can't believe that there was so many other layers other than just Deshaun being upset with the organization. So there's a lot of things happening in Houston. We're going to stay on top of it. If more things come out about what's going on right now, we will talk about it. We'll do our tea time update, if you will. And yeah, so that's our tea time for this week. Houston is in shambles, my friend. And I don't think that their interim head coach, Romeo Crennel, is going to stay their head coach, mostly because of his age. I think he's like 73 years old. I think they want some fresh meat in there. So I would feel bad if I was a Houston Texans fan. That's for sure. All right. Let's take a break. Let's switch gears real quick. Let's get into our next segment on the show, which is our Let's Talk About It segment. And we're like, when I say switching gear, we're going from like third gear to first gear. Like, we're jumping down to slow it down a little. And we're going to get a little bittersweet. We're going to get a little emotional. And this week, what I want to talk about is Drew Brees. Yes, we have to talk about Drew Brees. And we touch on it when in the interview with Grace and I, talking about, the Bucs Saints game. But this was Drew Brees' last game, probably ever. I don't think that he's going to come back next year. I don't see him, at all returning to the NFL. He's 41 years old. This year, he broke 11 ribs, and he got a collapsed lung. We were surprised to see him in the playoffs this year. Drew Brees, and the thing is here too, Drew Brees holds a special place in my heart. Which is weird because you're like, Samantha, you're from New York. You're a Giants fan. Why would Drew Brees hold a special place in your heart? He's in the NFC. You don't want him to win, no? Of course, I would love to see the Giants do really great things. But when I was younger, I kind of was like, oh, that guy's cool. I like him, and I like that guy. And Him and Aaron Rodgers were like my two guys that I would root for in the NFC if the Giants didn't make the playoffs, which, as of recently, doesn't happen very often. So, it's Drew Brees has kind of been one of my favorite football players since 2006, since he went to the Saints. I really, really liked watching him play. I loved the way he played. I loved seeing him. And when he started, when I started figuring out more about his personal life and his children and his wife, and I loved their family. And then I was like, oh my God, when he had his twins, I was like, oh my goodness. And then his wife got pregnant again and he was having a girl. And I was like, oh my God. It was just so sweet to watch him kind of go through this league for so long. He's been in this league for so long. So when he came out on that beginning of that game on Sunday and said, this is it. I'm retiring after this postseason. I got really emotional. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I have a professional printed out photo of Drew Brees mid-throw at the foot of my bed next to my Jorge Posada picture. So, who was the catcher for the Yankees and my favorite Yankee of all time. And Drew Brees, again, I could tell you exactly where that picture came from. That picture is from my brother. My brother gave that to me as a going away gift when I went to college in 2014. So he gave that to me to be like, you can hang this on your wall in your dorm. And I remember, just to go on a quick tangent of being emotional about Drew Brees, I had that picture. I brought it with me to college. I put it up on my wall, and I had a random roommate, assignment, who is one of my best friends now. I lived with her for all 4 years. Shout out to you, Amber. I love you. She's been supporting my podcasting radio career since I started it. I love you, girl. So Amber had come in and she started moving in, and her mom saw the picture of Drew Brees on the wall and asked me if that was my boyfriend. Which I was like, oh, I wish. I would love for Drew Brees to be my boyfriend. And he is happily married with several children at this point. But Drew Brees has been a very big part of my life for so long. And when I saw the video of him with Tom Brady after the game, and I saw him kissing to the stands, and I saw him look back at Mercedes-Benz Superdome for the last time, it hit my heartstrings. And I just wanted to share with you guys that, because it's a big deal for me to see Drew Brees leave the league. It's the same way that I felt last year when I watched Eli's press conference after he was retiring. I was bawling my eyes out watching that. It was ridiculously sad. I was so upset because, again, I came into the NFL world 2006, 2007, and Eli Manning was the only quarterback for the Giants I'd ever known. So seeing him leave was really just that's a whole other thing, I must say. But that's what we talked about this week. We talked about Drew Brees and my emotional attachment towards him, and with a few fun stories in there. All right. Let's move on. I don't want to gush about my man Drew anymore, but I wish him the best of luck. I really do. I hope that he gets a wonderful broadcasting career in the future. But let's go on to our next segment, our tweet of the week. And our tweet of the week this week is pretty funny. It's pretty funny. And since we're in this whole Bills setting right now, we are just Buffalo Bills Central right now. Our tweet of the week goes to the Buffalo Bills. And to start it off, though, it's a quoted tweet. So we'll start off with the first tweet, which is from Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey, who plays for the Ravens. And the Ravens obviously played the Bills last week. So he said, "Does Buffalo wings have anything to do with Buffalo, New York?" Now, if you're not, if you don't really know, Buffalo wings came out of Buffalo, New York. That's their big thing. And I don't know how he didn't know that, but he didn't. And then the Buffalo Bills quoted that tweet with the meme of Michael Jordan from The Last Dance saying, "And I took that personally," with the Bills logo on top of Michael Jordan's face. Oh my God. Just perfection in a tweet. We love it. We love it so much. So that's our tweet of the week this week, is that the Bills were just like, Marlon Humphreys, are you serious that you don't know that Buffalo wings come out of New York? That out of Buffalo, New York. That's, come on, put two and two together. Marlon Humphrey later on, I did see a tweet that was like, no, I genuinely didn't know, which is fair. I'm not going to come at you, Marlon, for not knowing that Buffalo Wings came out of Buffalo, New York. But I thought that tweet was very funny. All right, and finally, guys, let's start wrapping up our show. Wow, guys, we kept it under an hour this week. So exciting. So, let's wrap up our show with our feel-good story, as we usually do, with another Bills story. We're just sticking with the Bills theme this week. And so, as you guys know that we mentioned earlier, Lamar Jackson went down with a concussion in this game. It was a pretty scary fall. I mean, when the medics came around him, everybody was kind of like, oh my God, like, not Lamar. Like, Lamar's the guy, he's very exciting to watch. But Bills Mafia, probably at this point, I think, the best fan base in the NFL. Genuinely, I think that. Saw that he went down. They won the game, moved on to the AFC Championship, and Bills fans came out and started donating money to Lamar Jackson's charity to be like, dude, like, we respect you. We're sorry you got hurt. We're sorry you got a concussion, but, here in Buffalo, we're giving back. And they gave over $360,000 to his favorite charity, which is Blessings in a Backpack. It gives food to elementary school kids on the weekends who might, some kids go to school and eat lunch at school and require that meal in order to not be hungry. So when they're not at school on Saturday and Sunday, this charity gives meals to those kids who might need food on the weekends when they're not at school. Very, very sweet charity. So all of these people, I have 3 tweets here from people of Bills Mafia saying, Lamar Jackson is one of my favorite players in the league, and even though my team won, the league is better with him healthy and playing well. I hope he recovers soon, and his charity is pretty sweet. Easy donation, right? Hey, Bills Mafia, trying to get some Bills Mafia magic tonight. Buddies and I decided we're going to start donating $8, because it's the number of Lamar Jackson's jersey, to his favorite charity in Louisville for him to get better. Help spread the word. This is an awesome charity that Lamar Jackson has supported in the past. Let's show some love for Lamar's honor. Get well soon, Lamar. Bills Mafia, man. So just insanely amazing. And in 24 hours, they raised $290,000. So last time I checked, it was at $360,000. I'm not surprised that it's just coming in and pouring in. Upstate New York people can be very sweet. I'm not from upstate New York, but they are a totally different entity than New York City. So just a real feel-good story for you to send off into your day is that Bills Mafia just donated money to the opposing team's quarterback's favorite charity. Amazing. Just incredibly amazing. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for our show this week. I am so happy that you made it to this point and have listened the entire episode. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate you all. Please make sure to follow and subscribe on all podcasting platforms, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Girl Who Talks Sports. Like this video. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. Turn on notifications to make sure that you get notified when I upload my extra content videos. And don't forget to follow us on social media, TGWTS Podcast on both Twitter and on Instagram. I hope that you all have a fun, fantastic sports-filled day, and I will see you guys all next week for the AFC Championship Divisional Rounds. Bye!